Don't waste 3 months of your life on your regen project like I did. Start with a pre-research plan like we do now. This is the 3-step process we now use to start our projects. Pre-research, potential uniqueness, and story of place. We work from the premise that you can't consciously develop the future without understanding the conscious living being you're developing with. Whether that's agricultural land or more intense human settlement, having a deeper understanding of the living patterns in place gives us the opportunity to weave humanity back into the land in a more conscious and evolutionary way. So this is the new and improved pre-engagement and pre-research start to our story of place process when we're engaged on a regenerative development project. This started because I bombed for 3 months in Queanbeyan and the Canberra region trying to figure out what level or what nested hold that I'm working with or I'm holding for this work. And this place is different to other places where I've just been able to walk in and either have a complete collapse of place, so it's like, okay, that's fine, you're not ready. The other way is it just unfolds, and I just thought that that's how it went because I hadn't had that bombing sort of feeling from that side. And only now doing the pre-research again to be more prepared for this year, I'm actually seeing why. It's the patterns in place that have really held me up understanding and being able to start the project properly. So working in a more intentional way, here we are with a new process, and we're all just evolving in the field. No one's experts, we're just getting there. So starting with, and this is me doing the research here, I'm asking myself the question, how big is here? Like, am I looking at the bioregion, the local government area, the watershed, the water catchment, the town, the local vibe of whatever? Who is this whole living being? So like from that, how big is here? What's the socio-political, economic, cultural, essential environmental thing? And is there a feeling of the way this thing is showing up from the beginning? Is there any indication? All of this is to be able to test in the field. So how is this place processing us? That's a question of, like, I grew up in Canberra, so I know this place well. I thought I did. How is here different to there? So these are questions like, well, this is Queanbeyan. How is Queanbeyan different to Canberra? How is Queanbeyan different to Bunendore? Because they're in the same LGA. Why is that different? What is the relationship between the nested layers? So project, Queanbeyan, maybe Molonglo catchment, maybe Murrumbidgee River system catchment, maybe bigger, don't know. But what's the relational influence that each place has on the nested system and bigger, to understand that in a more comprehensive and conscious way. So I'm loving this second step now. This came from us working on the financial stack, just me getting an idea of where I'm at and what the difference between the two of them are. Very similar to how is he different to there. Using it now back in place as opposed to a financial instrument is really helping me see where I was going wrong for the last 3 months. So the potential uniqueness of this place, what's coming up, is large noticeable differences in the living holes. So the LGA is different to the river, which is different to the catchment, which is different to the town, which is different to the state, which is different to the territory. It's a mess. And I haven't investigated or actually interviewed someone Indigenous from these language nations in the region, so I'm not going to talk about any of it now. But what I hear through the grapevine is that there is this same pattern showing up in their culture as well. So it's just always pattern recognition where we are at. So that duality, that state territory, dual cities, yeah, that's a uniqueness, and it could be a pain in the ass. There's like tension at every level, and tension at every level and nested system in this region, which is what was blocking me. But within this tension lies its uniqueness, and if that pattern is that essential nature, then we've got living systems frameworks to deal with that, and for us to consciously weave with it. And the one that came up for me specifically in this one was the law of three. So this is contrary to how we do in the modern world. If you've got an opinion and I've got an opinion, then we both compromise, we both lose a little bit, but we get on with the job. What the law of three is saying is if we both respect each other and I hold your idea, while you hold my idea and we hold them together, then the two of us will come up with a third way that will be more than the sum of its parts. It'll be a more evolutionary way of bringing the system together. And so when I hear tension in regenerative development, and it is everywhere, it's the first opportunity that I'm like, there's something there, there's energy there, there's something's not right, and something can be fleshed out. So I get quite excited. Just this is a recap of like the difference of this place. So I was sort of holding, this is bigger. This is the Murray-Darling Basin. It's enormous. I think it's like 70% of Australia's food and water, or the East Coast at least. 5 capital cities sort of feed on it, and these are the major river systems. So across the actual basin and the work, we're sort of looking at how many rivers and places we can get in on these projects to sort of map this thing a little more regeneratively. So this is the Murrumbidgee that goes through Canberra and into Queanbeyan. That's the larger river catchment. And this is it from a more isolated region. You see it sort of come down into Queanbeyan, and it's just a very small part of Queanbeyan. But if you notice here, this is this juxtaposition between environment and socio-political. That sort of Murrumbidgee water catchment ends there, but the local government area is a much wider thing. It's very separate to the ACT and Canberra, where the river brings it together, and then also the smaller water catchments. Again, Queanbeyan's right nested within the Queanbeyan river catchment and the Molonglo, which feeds Canberra, and it all feeds the Murrumbidgee. And there's just something, I don't know, meetingness. There's some, like, the river forks or comes together. It's like a place of coming together, but it's not quite together. So that's the energy that's coming up for me. And then just sort of early staging, I've just started reaching out to representatives from all these things. So to start the story of place, we want to go back through time, 400 million years, 500 million years, depending on where you are, and go through the layers of materialization of this living being of our planet. So starting with geology, geomorphology, linking the climate systems, watersheds, bioregions, flora, fauna, sociocultural art I've put into that as well, politics, economics, urban planning, industry. And so we will get experts from each one of these that are local from this area and start engaging, asking, how does this come together? How does this show up? And so when we do each of these sessions in the month, then we go out on country and we look for the patterns that we find and have a little celebration. So this is the metaphysical sort of side, I call it that anyway. So this is, I forgot to put his name in again, Alfred Kavitsky's work, the time binding, the energy binding, space binding, time binding creatures. I sort of elaborated on that a little bit to energy bound creatures like the rocks and whole living beings. So this is just a way of me grouping and understanding the metaphysical energies and patterns that are from these places, picturing everything as a living being. And then once I actually do get in touch with the local Indigenous Australians here, they can hopefully help us sort of fill in from this side. And so when we have that walking together of hard Western science, Indigenous wisdom and knowledge, and using the law of three, we're going to be able to find a coherent story and path to hopefully bring us back to the original people and country of this land, and find a way for us all to create a story that we can walk with harmony and respect and dignity for everyone. So as a recap, do the pre-research and do it intentionally. Get an understanding of the unique potential and characteristics of place so that you're able to ask community and shape the conversations and the unfolding as it's coming through. First people first, always, whenever you can. And start with the story of place pre-framing and let that guide the intentional steps that you need to make sure that you're covering in the work. We will be back in Queanbeyan on the 14th of February to restart Story of Place for 2025. So all you hopeless romantics, hope to see you out there. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Your Legacy Project, as your resource for finding your own journey and planning your future legacy project. Leaving with a question for whatever that thing that you've got inside you that you've been too scared to do. Why not you?